forever. Like actually, like
it has
I don't
been
know.
a few weeks. We had 4th of July. I was traveling. You had some work stuff, so a lot has happened in the travel world. So it's good
Yeah.
to be back.
Yes, yes, yes. So you were just in the med. So why don't we do introductions and then you can tell us all about it?
Oh, that'll be fantastic. Well, guys, for just joining us, I am Jason Poole. I am a travel advisor with Cruise Planners. And as you'll hear very soon, love talking about all things cruising. I'm just obsessed with Mediterranean. It's every time I go, I just love it more and more and more. And I also love talking about credit card hacks and airline. We have some airline stuff to talk about. So anything related to travel, we will talk about it. And my partner in crime, my friend who is just as obsessed with travel as I am, Haley. Good morning. How are you? Tell people who you are.
Good morning, everybody. All of the above of things I like to talk about with Jason. I am a 16-year hotel veteran. I own a hotel sales company and a travel blog, and I will not shut up about traveling. And I'm always looking for points, hacks, and all the things. So you were just in the med.
I was.
I am set to follow suit on kind of a similar-ish itinerary
Yeah,
next month, different ship.
it is.
So let's talk about it. You're a med veteran.
Yep.
You are a celebrity stan.
Yep.
But you hit some new ports this time.
I did. I did. So if you weren't following along, I went to Rome 3 nights early, and because of I found like a cheaper flight schedule. I'd never landed in Europe at night, and I'm not gonna lie, Haley, I think I liked it better. Like, you just get to your hotel and you just go to sleep. So I kind of like
That's
getting.
what I did my first ever trip to Italy. We had a long layover at Heathrow.
Yeah,
And then we didn't like get into Rome until like 8ish at night. So we
that's
just went to dinner and then went to bed.
Yeah, that's what I did. Like, it actually worked out quite well. So I spent a couple days in Rome, explored, just walked around, met up with some friends who were also going to be on the cruise, had dinner with them. Nice, easy time in Rome, and then boarded Celebrity Beyond for an Eastern Mediterranean cruise. Wonderful time. I hit a few of the standards I've been to before. Mykonos, Jackios was just absolutely amazing. It's beautiful. Santorini, we were there late. And so we did like a nice dinner on the cliffs, watched the sunset. It was beautiful. Naples, I'll be honest, the port we went to in Naples, Catania was, I'm sorry, not Naples, Sicily. I'm sorry, Sicily. Our port in Sicily was Catania. Not really a lot there. That's going to be if you dock there, just take the bus right up to Termino.
Yeah.
It, Nothing there. We had lunch.
It's an industrial port.
It's industrial port. And look, because
Kind of like kind of like when you think about if you like port in like St. Lucia,
right,
what's there to do right there?
right, no, but it was because Messina was just too full, so we went down. So it was fine. And then Naples, we took the ferry down to Capri. It was I've been to Capri, but I'd not gone up and gone up to Anacapri. It was just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. It did not do the airlift. Watched my friends do it and stayed safely on the ground, drinking Negronis and spritzes. I felt much safer on the ground. And the new ports, we went to two new ones. One was Istanbul. We actually overnighted in Istanbul, and uh, it, it was a lot because it was a very popular Muslim holiday. So very few people were working. It is one of the most populated cities in the world. When you look at the top cities for population, Istanbul is very high on that list. And it felt like every person in that city was on the streets. It, it was
Chaos.
it was chaos. Like, I have been to New York City. I've been to Times Square. I've been to the
For
Macy's.
Thanksgiving.
I've been to the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade. Sat behind the star. This was. I've never seen more people in my entire life. Like, it was a lot. It was it was just a little overwhelming. I would maybe get off and do some stuff if it was another cruise port day and not a holiday, but it was a lot. But the highlight for me has to be going to Ephesus. It was unbelievable. It kind of had that Pompeii feel, where it's like a city. You get to see like it was just cool to see like a Roman city in Turkey. It was just like I really, really enjoyed going to Ephesus. And of course, the Beyond is beautiful. The food was fantastic. The service is fantastic. The shows. I mean, I've seen Stage Door now. I don't know, 6, 7, 8 times. We went twice.
There's a particular musical in that show.
It's
a song from.
It's Hamilton.
Oh, okay. I couldn't put my finger on which one that was.
Hamilton. Yeah, and there's a little Chicago number too.
Great.
Yeah. So, but it really was just absolutely fantastic. Just great trip. It might be one of my favorite med cruises I've done so far. It was just a lot of fun. I've done some of those med sailings from the restart where they were empty, and it was kind of fun as far as like having the ship to ourselves.
I low-key miss.
But you know what? I'm not gonna lie, having a full ship and feeling the energy and the excitement on the ship is also kind of fun.
It is. It's like it's kind of like a little double-edged sword for me here because it's like I missed kind of like that little extra pampering and the pricing.
The pricing, the price. I will. Yeah, after the pricing, I will say that because the ship was full, like it was at capacity. Technically, it was over 100% because there were some triples, quads that were booked. So it was at capacity. I've never welcomed the retreat experience as much as I did on this sailing. Like the main pool was just very busy. And the retreat was also very busy, but it's so big that there were plenty of spaces to lounge out. And
I felt that way on the April break that I was on because it originally wasn't full, which is why I got my room for such a steal. But then we moved a bunch of the Mariner sailings that had canceled over there, so it was at capacity. And I was so thankful for that little piece. Like you saw me, I barely left the retreat area of my room or whatnot. Like barely.
So my friend who came with me, Haley, you obviously it's Dominic, you know him, but for those who don't, it's one of my good friends, and he actually works for Celebrity, and this was his first ever cruise as a passenger. And early in the cruise, he was like, I just don't really get the retreat, whatever. The main pool's fine. By like day 2 or 3, he was like, okay, Jason,
I get it.
I get it. And he goes, Jason, we do activities on board, officer versus crew volleyball, poolside dance classes, archery, putt-putt. They do a lot of activities. And he said, Jason, activity staff always was upset that we would never have anybody from the retreat at these activities. And it always bothered me. He goes, now I know why. You guys do not leave the retreat sun deck. And it's like, you don't. It is
between the sun deck, the lounge, like my room just being great.
I agree. I use the lounge all the time. I loved it. It's a great place to work. It's a great place to go get espresso. Sometimes I go get like a glass of champagne as I'm walking. I just
even just cool off. Like, say you've been out in the sun, you want to throw your shirt, sundress back on, chill out and grab a, even just a cold water or a cold soda out of the fridge in there.
There was one day, I don't remember what day it was. It was so hot because we were at port and we hadn't left yet. It was so hot. We actually went to the lounge to just cool down. And I loved it. It was great to be back on Celebrity. So I could talk forever about it, but we have some news articles to discuss. So if you don't have any questions, we'll move on.
We will. And right as we move on, I want you to take a little peek in the comments, Jason. So I'm about to click on this first news article.
Uh,
Josh has been to this little place. Are you familiar?
the Galapagos, yes, he was messaging me before he went, and I was giving him some pointers. So, Josh, I hope you had an amazing time and loved it just as much as I did. And Lorette Springman on my comment joke, she goes, "You can say you like the energy since you were able to escape to the retreat." And she's
not wrong. She's not wrong.
She's not wrong. She is not wrong. So, okay. So guys, this is interesting. Explorer Journeys has a brand new ship coming out called Explorer One, small ship luxury. And they had to push back their inaugural sailing to August 1 because one of the vendors, and I had looked into it today because it affects some Royal and some Norwegian ships as well. Some of the fire safety equipment, including some fire doors and walls, did not meet codes. So even like the Royal Caribbean group is that, hey, we're looking into this. We're going to get replacements ordered, ASAP. But I applaud Explorer Journeys to say, hey, we're not going to do a sailing unless all of the equipment is up to codes. So I know people were upset, but I actually applaud them for taking the negative press, pushing it off. Let's make sure everything is just perfect. So we have to wait a little longer.
There's some hotel brands that are like that. Like opening a hotel is an extremely tedious process.
Absolutely.
Like it is like you have to hit every like check mark. Like, they might let a couple things slide. Like, maybe you don't have your sweet shop filled with, the things you're selling. But like when it comes down to like construction, brand standards of the rooms, the layouts, like it is such a tedious thing. I mean, I've seen closings get pushed back. We had a hotel actually that we work on in my company. It was supposed to open 2021.
Okay.
And it opened almost a whole year later.
Wow.
Just like craziness.
I mean, like there's like this saying in video game world, right? If you launch a bad game, it's a bad game forever, right? Like you lose that initial, excitement. But if you delay it, a delayed game is better than a bad game. So I would say I think a delayed hotel opening is better than a bad hotel opening. And God forbid Explorer Journeys had an emergency and there was a fire on board and the equipment failed. Like that would be.
Especially I feel like cruise ships are still under such a huge microscope.
They are.
In general. I mean, like even, pre-pandemic, we used to be like, oh my God, everybody, there was like, oh my God, it's just a floating Petri dish. And you just kind of eye roll. But even after the pandemic now, I don't need the bad press.
No, I agree. Well, if you guys know anybody who has been applying for a passport, it has been just months and months and months delays. I mean, I had a client just messaged me. They applied 6 months ago and they still don't have it. And, they're kind of freaking out. So the good news is the U.S. State Department is doing these passport fairs. July, so now through August, like libraries, post office, other public venues, mostly in New Jersey, California, and Florida. They find that those have been where the highest demands have been. They're doing some in Georgia, some in Massachusetts, some in Connecticut, allowing some appointments, some walk-ins. So if you need a passport, look into these State Department passport fairs. You can apply in person to extremely expedite the process.
That's really neat.
It's
when I first read the article, I thought when I see the word fairs, I always think like airfare, like
right.
And I was like fairs, and I had to like really look at the article for a second.
Right. So it costs an additional $60 to do it on top of the additional $130 to already expedite it.
For peace of mind, though.
Look, if you have a trip coming up and you have got, it's a trip that requires a passport, I mean, you got to just
pick up the bottles and cans, pay the $60. Don't get Starbucks for a month.
Right.
Right.
I could not agree more. So if you're just in definite need of a passport, look into some of these fares. So,
There's a Taylor Swift song that comes to mind with this next one.
oh, so Haley, I feel like we've been discussing JetBlue and Spirit and American just nonstop for like years now, years, and it continues. So, if you remember a few months ago, a judge said that the alliance, the Northeast Alliance between JetBlue and American, had to cease antitrust issues, right? So they said you have to break it up. And JetBlue was like, we're going to see what we're going to do. We're going to think about it. American was like, we're going to appeal. But now JetBlue is just like, you know what? I think we're just gonna be done. We're bowing out. American says they're still going to appeal, but JetBlue is just kind of like,
I wonder, like, how do you appeal when the other party's like,
we're breaking up.
yeah,
Right? It'd be like planning a vacation with your significant other after they already broke up with you. You're like, no, we're gonna go. We're going. And the
yeah.
person's like, I'm good. JetBlue's already facing some regulatory pressure for their merger with Spirit. And I mean, reading the tea leaves, I just don't think JetBlue wanted to deal with fighting the government for their AA partnership and the Spirit partnership.
They had to pick one.
They had to pick one. And maybe, I mean, long term, maybe the Spirit merger makes more sense. I mean,
I think it does long term because I always kind of, well, I think it's cool to have the AA partnership to be able to do like mint and stuff like that. Like,
of course it is. Of course it is.
but I think if you're just talking domestically, it's not a similar product. They don't have traditional first
No,
class. So it's actually closer in product
I agree.
to Spirit. I mean, Spirit has those big front seats, which are like first style class, but there's only 4 of them. If you're, comparing across the board, it leans more that way.
No, I agree. And I think there's just more synergy, more the type of product between JetBlue and Spirit. I mean, I always think having a budget airline in a one of the 3 alliances always just seems weird. It's just it'd be like having Southwest be part of like SkyTeam. It just feels weird to
Yeah.
like yeah.
And to be fair, we kind of need to keep that realm going because when you look at, you and I were talking about like Europe, there's so many of those economy little flights like EasyJet, Ryanair, like that's such a huge thing. They
It
just
is.
hop back and forth across
No,
the continent with those.
it absolutely is. All right. Well, guys, this next one,
This was a shocker.
I was shocked. This happened when I was on my vacation and had to deal with this. So thank you for those who had the affected sailings. Give me some time to work through all of these changes. So last week, Celebrity came out and they said we are redeploying some ships. We are keeping Celebrity Reflection and Celebrity Beyond in Florida year round versus sending them to the Med for the summer, which kind of moved around some Equinox stuff as well. So there were some dominoes, but the big news is Celebrity Reflection, Celebrity Beyond staying in Florida, doing Caribbean year round. Reflection's going to be doing a combination of short to midweek length sailings. Celebrity Beyond is going to be alternating 6 and 8 night sailings, and they're going to be calling on the Royal Caribbean private destination Perfect Day at Coco Cay.
So I want to plug you for a little second here, Jason, and you guys maybe need to get a hold of Jason because I did some poking around to kind of see what that looks like. And if you are wanting to try the retreat, there are 6-night Sky Suite retreat rates between August and September next year in the realm of $5,500 to $6,200 out the door for 2 people.
That's pretty good. When you consider that's your premium drinks, your fast Wi-Fi, hundreds of onboard credit, that's really not bad.
So if you guys are wanting to try it, you maybe need to send this guy over here a little
Awesome.
email,
Awesome.
because it's a great way to sample it. Because we've seen some other retreat sailings where they're doing like the same cruise that I did for like $1,000. And how much was the Beyond?
The one that I just did, it was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
So if you are wanting to try the retreat, hit up this guy because there's some really great rates for August, September,
There are,
and next year.
and at first, well, when the news first came out, some of the hardcore celebrity fans, including some of my clients, did not like this news. Look, their cruise on the Beyond they had booked for out of Europe got canceled. That stinks. Okay, it stinks, and I I understand it for a couple reasons. So when you're looking at summer 2024, you are now going to have Celebrity Apex in the Norwegian fjords. You're going to have the brand new Celebrity Ascent doing summer Mediterranean sailings. You're going to have Celebrity Beyond staying in Florida doing Caribbean sailings. And then Celebrity Edge out of Seattle doing Alaska sailings, taking a group of clients on it. One of those in August.
Cough, cough.
Yeah, cough, cough. So I think it makes sense that they're like, hey, don't be mad because you can't do Edge series in the Med. You can, it's just going to be on the Ascent. But now people have the chance to do Edge series out of Seattle, in the fjords, out of Florida, in the Mediterranean. And I think it just
from a big picture perspective,
right.
It makes sense. And that's kind of, where we talked about how, you're talking about Hyatt doing an economy extended stay product.
Right.
And it's like, oh my gosh, they said they were doubling down on luxury. Why is this? Keeping a edge class ship with some of those rates that we just referenced, letting people try it, sample it down the road, as people start to grow in their careers, make more money, they're going to be more apt to want that experience in Alaska in the fjords. So I think it's neat, and I think it's nice that they're doing some more small ships also in Europe, like your Infinity and et cetera, to get to some of those smaller ports that these bigger ships can't get to.
You're still gonna have Solstice class doing stuff. There's still gonna be a lot of inventory in the Med, but having two Edge series at those high rates sometimes can be difficult to fill. And so now, in some ways, the Ascent's going to get just probably even more expensive, but hopefully that gets us some good deals on some Solstice class, ships.
And to put the asterisks there, I loved the retreat on the Apex, and you and I have talked about this a million times. I loved it, but overall for the ship, I love Solstice class and is it Millennium class, right? That's what Infinity and Summit are. I love those class ships.
Especially Summit.
My first celebrity sailing was Millennium class and then Solstice. So there's ways that I actually prefer those ships as a whole. To Edge class.
Look, I think the Martini bar on the Millennium and Solstice class ship is better than Edge class.
100%.
I do.
You heard it here.
I do. I just think it's better. And I think it makes sense. So on my Beyond sailing, there were a lot of families who brought their older children. There weren't a ton of young kids on there. There were some.
Yeah. Olivia's at the age now where I would.
Right. And so the club at night had a lot of they were at midnight, they were kicking out the under 18s, right? Get out of here. But there were a lot of people on there, 18 to 20. They're in Europe, they could drink. So they thought they were just living their best life, right? And I heard a lot of those people say, we love this ship. We love this cruise. And I think Celebrity is going for the next generation. Okay. They need that new blood in their pipeline. And look, they're still going to have the premium med experiences. They're still going to have the fjords. They're still having Galapagos with flora. Those are still there, but they are dipping their toes a little bit into the family market, staying in Florida. And look, Haley, not everybody has the time or the resources to take off 2 weeks from work, fly a family to the Mediterranean,
Yeah.
spend the money on the poor. I mean, going to the Med, not everybody can take off 2 weeks of work. So I understand. I think it's great leaving it there in the summer. My bookings have already been full. I mean, people.
because there's some kids, kind of like when you get into that preteen, teenage. I mean, some kids don't do the water. Like, that's not, the water slides and stuff aren't a make or breaker anymore. Like,
No.
Olivia, don't get me wrong, she loves to surf on the flow rider. She loves those things. But like, she also loves chilling out on the balcony and ordering room service, reading a book and drawing and going to a show.
Right.
With me. I mean, like, her and her friend, we were on Allure in February. They went to the teen club once and we're just like, I'd rather hang out by the pool, hang out in the room. Especially when you have a beautiful suite. It's like,
I agree.
Why do I need to leave?
I agree. She called the butler, have him bring her some snacks and, eat easy. It's a tough life. So that is kind of it for the news. Haley and I were talking about the cruise I just did, and she's doing a Mediterranean cruise next month. Mm-hmm. Finally getting to Greece. And talking about like, hey, what did you guys do? How did you book it, etc. Right? So I had this conversation with my clients all the time, and I thought it'd be good for Haley and I to have this conversation of when you're booking tours and excursions, do you like to book the tour and excursion through the cruise line, or do you prefer to book it third party, private? There's a couple ways to book excursions non-cruise. There is truly private. There is a third party where it is a group but smaller. So how do you like to book your excursions and your tours?
I'm going to sound like a snood, but I am a private gal. Mm-hmm. Because one, I think for a lot of the excursions that I like to snorkel and that kind of thing. And a lot of these cruise ship snorkeling excursions in most ports are anywhere from $90 to $150 a person. Mm-hmm. So keeping, like Cozumel, for example, mm-hmm. Snorkel excursion is going to cost you well over $100 per person because there's great snorkeling. You have to go out on a boat to most of it. Mm-hmm. Where instead for like, what it would have cost us almost $500 for $150-ish more. I had a whole boat to myself, snacks, food. The thing I don't like about cruise ship excursions is I hate being stuck on a catamaran with like 75 people.
When you were saying $95 to $100, I thought you were saying 95 to 100.
Well, some of them are so big.
I think
some of those catamarans are huge.
They can be.
Like the ones, they're huge, and I think that's hard. I do think there are some excursions like, like the White Pass Rail in Alaska. Like that's an easy one to book through the cruise line. It's less thought, easy peasy. I think if you're doing an excursion where you want to get off in port first, maybe do a quick walking excursion so you can go off and explore, that's worth it. But I think a lot of people are scared into using cruise ship excursions because they're just like, oh, we will guarantee you get back. You can't, like, it's kind of, I'm going to call it what it is. It's like whitewash tourism.
Yeah.
And I like to make sure that my money, when I spend it, goes back into that community as best as possible.
I couldn't agree more. So when I was in Ephesus, we had a private tour guide. She had a sign outside the terminal, and it was 4 of us and her and a driver. That was it. So, 6 of us in this van. The driver really didn't talk. So when we drove through Ephesus, got to Ephesus, did the tour, it was the tour guide and the 4 of us. and she provided us some water. She provided us umbrellas. By the way, tangent, I've never been an umbrella tour person until she provided it. I'm converted to the umbrella life because it was one of the hottest days ever, and everybody's sweating, and the four of us were just like, yeah, it's hot, but we were not drenched. We were not.
I've always like seen people. I'm just like, oh, that seems a little extra.
I,
And then Jason's like, no, Haley, this is the way you need
you
to.
gotta get the umbrella, okay? You gotta get over it, right? Because I remember my first semester of college, I'm walking to class, it's raining. I'm like, I'm not getting an umbrella. I'm too cool. Everybody shows up to class. I'm the one soaking wet. I went and bought an umbrella week 2 of college. I'm telling you now, Haley, for your med cruise, get an umbrella, okay? But so we're doing that tour, right? And it's the four of us and a tour guide, where everybody else is, has the earpiece in. The tour guide is 20 yards away. They're just walking aimlessly. They can't ask questions of the tour guide because they're so far away. So I love, private or small group. Like, there are third parties that I use, like Short Excursion Group is a great one. Not truly private, but that's a great option if you want a smaller group.
Yeah, I mean that's why I use when I took my company to Italy, even in November. It's not a cruise one, but like it wasn't that much more money to do like a private tour, like with Greyline and Karani. It just it's nice because it's more customized, it's more flexible to your time, and a lot of that is just your planning and kind of having your backups, like how Jason and I talk about having backups on travel days. I always, nobody likes to get up early, but if I'm going to do a tour like that, I want to be right off the ship immediately, have my tour, and give myself like a 2 to 3 hour leeway by the time the port, you're supposed to be all.
No, and I agree. And look, I know people are scared that a non-cruise ship tour is going to miss the ship. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it is so rare.
And you just put into the time to review and look at the places.
It just
now, if it's somebody that doesn't have any reviews on TripAdvisor or Google, am I going to go there? No.
No, look, these companies are not going to be in business if they have a reputation of missing the port. Okay, it just doesn't happen. Okay, you just give yourself plenty of time to get back to the ship. It just doesn't happen. And I just, the only time I will book a cruise ship tour is if I just want to transfer. Right, you're in Sicily, you dock in Messina. You book a transfer to Taormina, explore your own, and then they take you back. I will book that cruise ship tour. But let's tour this port or like, I just, like, there was a couple on our cruise we just did. They booked an all-day tour when we were when we docked in Naples. They went to Capri, the Amalfi Coast, and Pompeii. Like 12 hours. Most of it was on a bus. And I was just like, guys, you spent your whole day like on a bus or train, So I look, but the excursions are big money makers for the cruise lines. Okay. They keep a lot of it. They pay it, that they pay the tour companies. I like you, Haley. I like that when we had that, Turkish tour guide, that money stayed in their economy.
Yeah.
So I could not agree more. So we are in complete agreement here. So
yes, we are. So now we're going to head over to tip of the day.
Yeah, tell me about this. I'm excited.
Yes, I'm really excited about it. So I'm pulling up a couple pictures because I'm one of those like visual people as well, so that we can talk about it. So there's this new app. I actually got invited to be an ambassador for it. Kind of, it was like a mutual thing because it's actually based on booking.com. So it's not just some fly by night kind of thing. And if I were to pick an OTA that's the lesser of all the evils, it probably is booking.com because you actually see the client's card. It's not ghost card. It's crazy. So they have this new app called Out of Office. And Jason, with how much you travel and how much a lot of our people in today in travel, you have a friend that ends up going somewhere and they're like, oh my gosh, I see you've been to Mykonos a ton of times. What do you recommend? And you're like, oh, let me type all this out. every time, even, if you try to save it in your notes, go back and copy and paste, you can save all that to this profile. So it's a free app. This is what the profile looks like here on the screen. You'll see like my top destinations. I've been building mine out. And you can save your favorites. This could be favorite tours. This could be favorite hotels, sites that you've seen, favorite bars, nightlife. So you can just share your profile and people can search by your destinations. It'll either show up kind of a la Pinterest style like this when you click on it, or you can actually click a map view, which I really love myself. And then you can also go in here and search for destinations that you're going to be traveling to. I love this idea because I can't tell you how many times I get tired or I got to try to go run to my blog and find, everything is just short, concise. You can look at it. It's easy to add reviews and recommendations. And I kind of like this because it's not like, there's an influencer on Instagram that's getting paid to make a post. Trust me, I get, paid for some things and I'm pretty transparent about it. Like this is just straight recommendations.
Right. I love it. I downloaded it and made my account.
I'm obsessed.
I follow one person on the app, Haley. It's you.
I just followed you back.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I want to play with it. I think that's going to be great when my clients book a trip. I can be like, oh my gosh, you're going to Santorini. Boom, here's my favorite stuff to do in Santorini. Here's how you do it. Here's the tour companies. So I'm excited.
And they just launched an AI tour within it where it can generate in like seconds an itinerary for you.
Love it.
Which I think is super neat. You can now also book hotels and stuff through it. I mean, of course, I still recommend checking locally, going direct and whatnot. But, it's kind of a great way to get some ideas of what rates are going to be too. So.
I agree.
I'm obsessed.
I'm excited. Hey, I always love a new travel app. And well, guys, that was it. Sorry we went a little long, but we had a lot to discuss.
We did. It's been a minute. So enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Do not forget to join Today in Travel, todayintravel.live, and we will see you next week.
Sounds good. Bye, Haley. Talk to you later.